Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. This is the prayer that Moses spoke in Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is good, the Lord is one. Or the Lord is great, the Lord is one. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I'm still not through with the Tom Riddle story, so he used to do this ritual to basically to explain how this new kind of magic works, which is also sometimes called psychotronics, or psychotronic magic, or psychotronic whatever. So he used to explain how the capturing of energy works in the triangle of art, which is basically composed of 3 crystals, which have to be quartz crystals, and they have to be, basically every radio works by squeezing a quartz crystal to the right wavelength. To receive that wavelength, you have to squeeze a quartz crystal. That's what a radio does. So by that mechanism, you can also invoke any other frequency, not just radio frequencies, but angels, demons, whatever, archetypes, everything. So that's basically the concept behind it. So but when he explained that he made a ritual basically, and he talked about Amalek, and that he used to do a ritual to curse a certain chosen people. So that's not, I haven't done it, I just witnessed that, so that's no reason to kick me off of YouTube. I'm not for things like that, I'm just explaining that he did that, and he used to say that there's only one God powerful enough, and it's also in the Bible, to defeat the God of the Jews, Jehovah, Adonai, and that would be Amalek. But, and that's just a thought of mine, I think that he intentionally did not say the real name of that entity that he uses for that, because the Amalekites had a god, and as far as I know, the god of the Amalekites was Haman. And the funny thing is that I used to watch South Park, and I just used to watch South Park to switch off my mind. I didn't really, so just, I don't know, I watched South Park for a long time, only South Park, and I had one favorite episode which was Jubilee, and that's Jewbilee, Jubilee. So in German that would be something like Jubiläum. And in this episode, if anybody has it at home, watch this episode, and I'm going to explain what's happening in the episode. And just remember this: Matt Stone and Trey Parker, who make South Park, one of them is Jewish, so he should know. And Tom Riddle used to say, if you ever find like a rabbi or something, then ask him about Amalek, and this guy will like fall out of all clouds that a goyim knows about Amalek and Haman. So the story in South Park goes like this: Kyle, the little Jewish boy, has a thing happening, and his parents drive him to something like Boy Scouts for Jewish children, and it's called Jew Scouts. So, and Kenny follows him. So they are driven by the parents to this thing in the woods, and then when they arrive there, Kenny asks him, what is this? And he says, that's the building where the elders meet. Nobody is allowed in there. And then it cuts into the building where the elders meet, and they all introduce themselves. So there are like 5 elders on the table, and the first stands up, and I think I have seen this episode for 3 years nearly every evening because it's so funny. I don't know why. Maybe because of, I don't know, maybe because so that I can explain that. Anyway, so I used to watch this one episode. I don't know why I found it so funny. It isn't really that funny. It's just one of the early South Park episodes, and it's pretty funny. Anyway, so the elders are in the room, and the first one stands up and says, "My name is Elder Harris." Freaking flies. Anyway, so the first elder stands up and says, "My name is Elder Harris, I'm from the Hasidic sect." The next one stands up and says, "My name is Elder Karn, and I'm from the Orthodox synagogue." And the next one stands up and says, "I'm Elder whatever, and I'm from the sect of anti-Semites." And the first elder stands up and says, "I never heard about that sect." And he says, "We're new." So I must have watched that episode I don't know how many times. I used to usually watch 3 or 4 episodes, which I find the most funny ones. And Jubilees, I think, from season 6 or 7 or whatever. It's so. Then this elder of the sect of the Jewish sect of anti-Semites from South Park says to them that they are talking about Moses and what they're going to do, and the anti-Semite Jew says to them, why are you all so in love with Moses? What has Moses ever done for us? And the other guy says to him, all Jewish people worship Moses. And he says, not mine. Tonight is the night of Haman. And now it gets very interesting, because the god of the Amalekites is not called Amalek, he's called Haman. So when I don't know why I had watched that episode like 500 times. It's not that funny, but he then uses something very similar to a psychotronic crystal, which is a conch shell, to trap Moses into the conch shell of blind faith or whatever. So, and that's the whole story of that South Park episode. But when I googled Haman, it says that Haman was the god of the Amalekites. And if you read, so it's in the Bible, I think it's in the book of Esther. And yeah, so I think that Tom Riddle intentionally didn't mention the real name, but he said, if you ever meet a rabbi, ask him about Amalek. And he explained that basically, if you have the Kabbalah, if it's still in there, there it is. So if you have the Kabbalah, the realm of Earth, the Earth, the physical realm is Malkut, and Kether would be God. So this would be the dwelling place of Jehovah or Yahweh or Adonai. And he said that the Amalekites were like a tribe of warriors, and they worshipped the god of the clifford, which goes downward from, this is earth plane, this is Kether. If you put it down, it's the clifford. The clifford is basically the anti-Kabbalah, the Kabbalah under the earth, going downward, so it goes just this way down into hell, like it goes upward. And they used to worship the god of this anti-Kabbalah, which is called the Clifford. And the god of this anti-Kabbalah is called Haman. I think he has other names too. So basically all these emanations or Sephirah, they all have their corresponding demons and angels. And this is a science, so I can't explain that in a video. That's too much. So basically, like hot in real Kabbalah, where the left side is female, the left side of the body is female, the right side of the body is male. It's giving, female is receiving. That's why, to ward off evil spirits, you should wear, as far as I know, you should wear the Ayin Hara band, which means the evil eye. Ayin Hara means the evil eye. So the Jews believe in the evil eye. They still believe in the evil eye, and that the eye can curse, and maybe that's why they all do this or whatever. So Hod means majesty. That's this here, and that would be the realm of the Archangel Raphael, which I cannot invoke because there's a reason for that, because I used to invoke the demon of the Clifford, of the hod that goes downward, which would be Azazel, or Abaddon, I think is also called Azrael, Azazel. Sometimes it's called Abaddon. If you do that, you're not able to invoke Raphael, which is the angel of healing. So I'm not able to invoke Raphael. I never was really able to invoke Raphael. So this is a science. It doesn't make any sense to begin to try to explain all that. But I'm just saying that this stuff is very real, and there are many books about the Kabbalah. There are also many songs about the Kabbalah, like from David Bowie, from Kether to Malkut, which is a very famous song from David Bowie, and he used to say that the worst time in his life was when he was involved in Kabbalism, because of the Crowleyism of the time, and that must have been the early to late 70s, when he was known as the Thin White Duke. So this stuff is very real, and these energies are very real, and it's just fascinating to me that God made me watch this episode called Jubilee 400 or 500 times for years. I used to watch that episode because it kind of calmed me down. I don't even know why, it just calmed me down so that I could sleep. So also, when I talk about these things, that's like I'm talking from a lot of knowledge, from a base of a lot of knowledge about that stuff, and I think that many people can't relate to anything that I'm saying, so I'm trying to explain how Tom Riddle explained Kabbalism. So he used to begin with the importance of the planets, because the planets are very powerful spiritual entities. If you want to call them demons, then they are demons. If you want to call them spiritual forces of nature, but it's all a matter of perspective, because many people who get involved in magic in the beginning think that these are just forces like gravity, but they are more like a consciousness outside of a body. So you can talk to them and they're going to answer you, and you can invoke anything. You can invoke the god of wisdom, Tahuti or Thoth, to become more intelligent. You can do that in meditation. If you just do that for 20 minutes a day, you're going to recognize a massive change very soon. So yeah, so about the planets, if I'm going to talk about white magic, so from the Kabbalah you have to use West to perform white magic, because East is associated with the hell realms, and you usually use either the Sun or Jupiter you should not use the moon because it has the number 2, and so it's so there are 2 goddesses of the moon, Diana, which would be the positive aspect, and Hecate or Hecate, which would be the negative aspect of the moon. And when he invoked Hecate in the afternoon, or whatever, in this park, the dogs would go completely nuts. They would attack each other. They would go completely bonkers. And wind would rush up, and before that it was a sunny day, no cloud on the sky. He begins the ritual, like it gets dark, the wind rushes in and nearly knocks everything down, and he's so used to that he just ignores it. He just holds his stuff down that it doesn't fly away. So that's the level of, when you see that this is not an act, this is not an actor, this is not someone who wants to sell something for a few dollars or whatever. And and as I said, I never made a ritual that didn't work. So I have a book, I have a diary. I used to keep a diary about the ritual workings, and maybe I still have it somewhere. So yeah, so and I used to try this stuff, and immediately it worked, and I would write under it. So in the diary I would always wrote under it the next day or 2 days later or whatever. I wrote under it, it worked, and then I wrote under it, it worked again, and then I wrote under it, it worked again, exclamation point. And then I wrote under it, it worked again, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, and the diary is full of pages where I wrote, it worked again, it worked again, it worked again, it worked again, it worked again. I even made a ritual because I was so bored, and I was like bored to death. And but this was a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. So anyway, so I was bored to death, and I made a ritual on Friday on Friday that something big would happen, something great would happen, something really massively great would happen on the weekend, because I was so bored. I was at home like for a long time. I was just at home all the time. So I made this ritual to the west. I think I used Jupiter or whatever. So Jupiter would be the number 3, which is very powerful. And the next day I was sick, so I thought, finally, obviously this ritual could not have worked because I'm sick. I had like fever and was lying in bed. I couldn't do anything. It just was bedridden. So like I already wanted to write in the diary, the ritual didn't work. And that was the weekend when the Austrian right-wing party was destroyed, the FPÖ, and the Karl-Heinz Grasser was videotaped doing something illegal which destroyed his career, and all the weekend everyone was in front of the television, and it was just this impossible. So this happened that weekend, that basically one of the 5 parties in Austria, which is one of the most powerful parties, the head of that party was fired. Karl-Heinz Grasser. That was the weekend that happened. So I had to write under it, it worked again, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Because like people would even come to us, and it was on TV, and we were in front of the TV all the weekend. And he was caught on a mobile phone video where he made promises to a Russian investor that he would do this and that and this and that and whatever. I think it was about a lot of money, whatever. So this happened. So I really can't say that I ever did a ritual that didn't work. Like if I did, I can't remember, because I have a whole book where I just wrote worked again. Why am I not a multimillionaire if that works? You might ask yourself that. Because magic must be reasonable. You can't be broke as F and become a multimillionaire because you did one ritual. That's not how it works. You can't be unreasonable with that. So you have to keep at it, basically. But also, if you keep at it, you're going to sink deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that stuff, and then it becomes a crutch, like everything else. Like drugs, it becomes an addiction. You can't get rid of it. You're dependent on it, and that means you are no longer free. And if you lose your freedom, you lose everything. So in the end, I'm glad that I found all that stuff out, but just for one reason, because that opened me up to the concept of Christianity, and that it could be real. And it is. So I had to learn all this stuff just to have my eyes opened to the truth of the Bible, which sounds pretty ridiculous, but that's how blind I was. That's how blind that you become when you're a worldly person and you're going to progress on the wrong path that leads to destruction. And that's why I talk about it. It's not my intention to impress people, it's my intention to wake you up to that reality, that there is a science behind this stuff. And you have to study that your whole life to have a clue. Like if you want to be on that level, you would have to have a mentor who has studied that his whole life, and then you can go on from that, and that's the level where Tom Riddle was at. So if you lay all your crap down at the feet of Jesus, he's going to get rid of it. It might take a while, especially if you're deep in it. So if you're like 30 years old and you're basically a dead man walking for like 10 years, and you know that there's no hope, then it might take a while for him to fix you, but eventually he will. And if you stay, that's what two things he told me. You have to stay patient and you have to stay faithful, because he is infinitely wise. You, even if you have all the knowledge about black magic in the world, you will make mistakes, and then the devil will come to collect. And it's fascinating that they basically, he put this knowledge out to piss off, what he said, he wanted to piss off first off his former employers, who were the Rothschilds, and he said he wanted to bring all this knowledge onto YouTube, so that a few guys on YouTube would have all the freaking knowledge that the whole MI5 and MI6 uses against people just by watching my videos. So he did it out of the motive of getting back to them, and it was obvious if you just read his body language. So as I said, and this then opened me up to Christ, and this was like a long time ago, and it's a pretty unbelievable thing if you believed in something your whole life and suddenly you see that this is complete baloney. That's not true. And if you're an atheist, the logic, and you were born in like at the end of the satanic century, which was the 20th century, like Anton LaVey said, that might be one of the few things that he said that were real. And the second thing would be that the TV is the satanic family altar. It's a pretty unbelievable transformation if you were convinced that all this religious stuff is just nonsense, and then you have to accept that when somebody explains it to you from a scientific standpoint and you can follow him, which was not easy, then you have to accept that that's true. And the only science that explains spiritual phenomena is quantum physics. If you never heard about that, I don't think it makes a lot of sense even trying to understand that. So that was the last video about Tom Riddle. Why did I make 4 or 5 videos about him? Because I invested maybe 1.5 years or 2 years of my life just deciphering his stuff. and I was going through it like I was every mathematical equation and stuff. I wrote it down, I checked it out on the internet, it checked out. I could not catch him in a lie. So, but still, usually when someone says, hello, I'm coming from the Illuminati to give you all the knowledge in the world, I just ignore that. That's insane. But this guy was real. And I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know. I don't even know if his videos are still available. At least I don't think they are available on YouTube. There is another site where you could find them, probably. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you for listening. Good evening.